Hello, masengingenile kuma-rooms enu. Abantu bathi abakwazi ukungena ngazi indaba. Angithi wena host. Oh, uthi ngicela ukuphendula uShekila ngizobuyela kuwena manje. Hello Shekila. Hello. Oh, sorry. Hello. Hi. Oh, okay. Who is this? Okay, I'm confused.
Hi, Pumla, it's Aloshni.
Hello.
We haven't started, but I see that you are streaming already. Now 3 minutes to go. Good day, colleagues. Thank you for joining the Mental Health Stream. I'm Dr. Siloshni Pillay, the Manager of Student Support Services in the College of Health Sciences, and I will be chairing the session. We have 6 presentations in this stream, with each being offered 15 minutes to present and 5 minutes for discussion. The COVID-19 pandemic, as we know it, has not just been a global disruptor, but a critical accelerator as well, as it has foregrounded mental health as a key focal area in society. So within higher education, we are aware that it is in the university's best interest to address and respond to mental health, since it is inextricably linked to both academic outcomes and institutional success. So colleagues, with that, I'm going to invite our first presentation. We have the 6 lined up from 12:30 up until 2 this afternoon. Our first presentation is entitled The Effect of Social Support and Conflict on Academic Performance of Foundation Year University Students. And our presenters are Joseph Ntebeni Jere, Trian Amachand, and Nomondo Ngobo. So our team with presentation 1, it's over to you now.
Okay, thank you very much, Saloshni, for the introduction. I just want to share my screen. Want to see if I can share. See if it's going to work. Okay. Hope it's visible.
We can see that. You may want to get it on the slideshow.
Yes. Just finishing up. Okay. Okay, so thank you very much again for the introduction. My name is Dr. Jerry. I will be taking this session with my colleagues, Trian and Nomonde. And together we form the team that manages, we run a module in our foundation program called Academic Literacy. So what we're doing, the study is basically focusing on the aspects of social support and conflict with regards to our students, our cohort of students. So this cohort of students will comes from our foundation group. So just to give a little bit of a background, what is the BCom Foundation program? So the BCom Foundation program is one of the programs that were designed by the university to sort of bring about some redress. Now, what it does is that it looks at students that come from previously disadvantaged environments, especially a schooling environment. And it says, okay, how did these students perform? And if these students show potential, then we can bring them into the university, give them a year of upskilling, which is the foundation program. And then in the subsequent year, they go and they join the mainstream program. So that's what our foundation program is. So our cohort of students ideally are students that come from between quintile 1 and quintile 3 schools, which generally are schools that are located in rural areas, or as some of the definitions will say, there's no tarred road and so on and so forth. So that's just to give you an idea of the kind of schooling background that our students come from. So they come from these schools that were not very well equipped coming to the university. And with us, we actually sign a social contract with them to say, listen, when you come into the university, this is what we're going to offer you. And this is what you should expect from us as your academics. And in the same vein, you are expected to meet certain criteria. One of those criteria that we have is that our lectures are not optional, they're mandatory. All our activities are actually mandatory. So you're expected basically to bring, the best of you in this program. Now, we understand when you're looking at the cohort of students and where they come from, and they come into this university, a bigger environment, very different environment. You know, they tend to go through a number of emotional issues, so to say. And we try to be very holistic in our approach of assisting our students. So that's what this study is based on. We're trying to see basically how our students, in terms of social support, how do they feel? How does it affect their performance in terms of what they feel when they feel conflict? How do they feel, and how does it support their performance? So in the College of Law and Management Studies, generally your first year student, your accounting student, is coming in at 32 points. With the foundation program, your student now is able to come in, a student that wants to study accounting eventually, subsequent to the foundation program, comes in at 28 points. So that's quite a significant difference in terms of going downwards. Then we have our students that the general, BCom general student, the mainstream student, stands at 30, comes in at 30 points. Our foundation students come in at 26 points and above, as a minimum 26. So these are students that obviously will need certain upskilling. One of these modules that they go through is our academics literacy module. Now, what academic literacy is based on is basically teaching the students how to adjust to an academic, a university manner of writing, and how to approach your readings and so on and so forth. So that's the foundation program. This is the module that we undertook the study on. So just to give a little bit of a common grounding in terms of our definitions, what we refer to as social support in this study, and what we refer to as conflict, is extracts from some authors, Malachi and Demarais, and they define social support to be viewed as an individual's perception of the helpful actions by those in their social network that enriches their individual's performance by contributing towards their goal attainment, or shields them from risk factors that may result of negative outcomes. So that's what we define as our social support to be. And on the other hand, the inverse of that, our conflict, we define conflict to be the idea where students perceive to be in a decreasing environment of positive relations. So whenever students are feeling these negative emotions is what we consider to be our conflict. And maybe on this point, I would like to just hand over to one of my colleagues, Nomonde, to give a little bit of more grounding on the concept of social support and conflict with regards to our students that come in to the program.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Jerry. So for our students, like Dr. Jerry has mentioned, our students come from very disadvantaged schools, and most of them come in because they miss 1 or 2 points for them to get into mainstream. And some of them are students that did not even believe that they would qualify to come to varsity, or they stand a chance of coming to varsity. So in as much as we know that usually social support comes from your peers or your friends, but with our students, as we know the background that they come from, we try and offer social support as their lecturers as well. So we try and create environments that allow them to be who they are, and we try to create an environment where they can see where they're going, and they can try and be able to socialize with their peers and try and create relationships with their peers. So during this time of COVID, like each and every student has been locked in their rooms or residence, so they haven't been able to meet with other students or their classmates. So we try and make sure that even during our lectures, we interact as much as possible with students. We come up, we ask them if they're feeling good at the university, or if they have any friends, and we have, like in class, we have some students that started relationships in class, and they even had like sort of like a party where they all met to just get to know each other and to know if I need support, this is the person that I go to. And if I need anything, this is the person that I can go to. So we try and offer that as well, where we allow the students to contact us at any time when they need to contact us. So that is how in our academic literacy, we have tried to support students when it comes to social support. And then when it comes to conflict, like Dr. Jerry said, conflict is when students perceive the environment that they're in or the relationships to be a bit negative. So like our students coming into university, like I mentioned, some of them did not even believe that they stand a chance of coming to university. So that is where even the relationship, even forming relationship with other students or their lecturers start decreasing. So when they come in, like I said, we try and create positive relationships with students as much as possible. And we try and get where they're coming from and what conflict they might have and so on. So if we feel like they have conflict that need someone else to come in and assist them with, because we understand as their lecturers, sometimes we cannot go to a certain distance or a certain point with our students. So we have like, we have boundaries as their lecturers. So we just make sure that whoever needs help, in order for them to decrease whatever conflict that they have, we point them into the right direction and they can get help and then come back and perform as they should. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much, Nomonde, for that background. So what is the purpose of this study? Like I said earlier, the purpose of the study was to investigate the effects of these psychometric constructs of social support and conflict on the students' academic performance in the foundation program for the Bachelor of Commerce. Now, in terms of the data that was collected, we're looking at 151 students in total. This was collected using a closed-ended questionnaire that was adopted from the interpersonal relationship inventory questionnaire that actually helps analyze these constructs. So we thought it was safer to actually use a tool that has been used before, looking at these specific areas, considering also that we're not experts in the field, but more commerce people. Now, this is more a visual map of what we did in terms of designing our study. So what we used in this particular study, we set it up in such a way that we could understand, we're trying to see what the independent variables were, the independent variables being social support, the other independent variable being conflict, and we'll try to see the dependent variable being student academic performance. We want to see how do these two constructs affect these performance. So we're actually measure how the student feels in terms of whether they feel supported in the program, and also measure whether the student feels a level of conflict in the program. And we use Likert scales, so it was moving from a very low to a very high extent. So when we measure that, then we actually we look at then their performance throughout the program, throughout this particular module. How have they been performing, and can we actually draw any conclusions based on that? So two hypotheses were set up for each one of them. So when we're looking at the first hypothesis, we're looking at trying to check whether social support has got no significant effect on the academic performance of our students. Or hypothesis one, that was H0. Hypothesis one is looking at social support has actually a significant effect on their performance. And then the second hypothesis we're looking at H0, which was conflict has no significant effect on student academic performance in academic literacy. And H2 rather, in this case, we were saying that conflict it's actually supposed to be has a significant effect on students' performance in academic literacy. When we went further into the analysis for the purposes, because obviously we're squeezed for time, we're going to produce more of the stats. But for the purposes of actually getting the gist of what we were doing, and this is actually going into a broader paper that hopefully it will be accepted for publication, which we're trying to prepare, is that the results of the study suggested that there was no significant evidence to reject the null hypothesis that social support has got no significant effect on student performance. So basically, the ANOVA proved actually that social support has an effect on student performance in academic literacy. And when we look at the other construct of conflict, it also showed that conflict as well has a significant impact on student performance in academic literacy, although it was much more less significant than our social support. Now we'll go further to some of them. When we dug in further to the analysis, some of the results that we showed that were quite actually interesting. So the study suggests that foundation program should implement, or rather consider, the effect of social support on student performance, especially when conflict is present. Now this sentence, I would like to explain it in the next visual. Now in this visual, what we did is we tried to map the frequency of how students felt in terms of social support against conflict. And then we looked at the estimated marginal means. And what this shows is that even when social support, the blue line, even when social support, which is at its height, even when social support is at its lowest, which is the red line, at the end of the day, when you move from the continuum of a low social support to a student feeling a high social support, what happens is that all of these conflict levels are kind of negated when social support is present. So even if students feel conflict, if they feel more support than the conflict that they feel, they'll still be able to perform well. So these were some of the findings of the study. So to try and now make sense of some of these findings, we say we were trying to figure out, okay, where to from here. Now the study indicated that the presence of social support, whether it's high or medium, is important as it represented approval, and regardless of the conflict perceived by students, whether it's high to no conflict at all, the effect on the students' academic performance, it actually still has an effect on student academic performance, this is social support. A possible explanation for the Beacon Foundation program is that we have institutionalized a number of measures. One of those measures is that when we were on campus, whenever we're on campus, we have an open door policy with our students. We interact with our students. And now during the COVID time, what we've done is we've created these WhatsApp groups where we consult with students, and students can throw in questions at any time, and then they should expect a response within a given period of time. Normally, we tell them that when the cutoff is 6 o'clock. So if it's 6 o'clock, then you expect a response at 8 o'clock in the morning, unless it's an emergency. But generally, that's what we do with our WhatsApp group. So we're very open with our communication numbers with the students. I think we insist on respect. And based on that, students don't cross the line to actually call you at any time. What we have, a simple punishment is that if you go outside these periods of time, then we actually remove you from the WhatsApp group, and then you don't get most of the communication, which students obviously try and avoid. So then we have an academic orientation period that runs throughout the semester, which has been more like a module. So throughout the semester, students attend this particular program where they discuss issues on a weekly basis. Then we also have a mentorship program where we actually pair our junior students, our new students who've just come in, with senior students who have come through the program. So students who have similar experiences, and we'll be able to guide much better. The mentorship program is an academic mentorship program, so our focus is mainly on academics. Then we also conduct a lot of career discussions to help debunk a lot of myths that, myths such as if you're not doing BCom accounting, then you're not doing anything in the college, so everybody tries to clamor in one particular area. So we talk about different careers to kind of bring in that idea of social support, and to sort of like break down these feelings of conflict within the college. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your attendance and your listening.
Thank you, Joseph. You've actually given the delegates about a minute for any questions or answers or responses. I
Sorry.
hear you. Thank you kindly to you and your team. So I'm opening the floor for discussion, or if there are any questions or points of clarity to pose to the presenters. Okay, so I see there's no comments on the chat as well. And I don't see any hands. Pumla, just help me there. Are there any hands raised? I don't see any.
No, there's no hands raised.
Okay. Thank you, colleagues, and thank you to the session 1 presenters. So we're going to move on to the next presentation, entitled Experiences of Student Wellbeing and Support During the COVID-19 Pandemic, Reflections by Peer Wellness Mentors, Mentees, and Coordinators. And the presenters are Christy Greener, Suzanne Stokes, Willie Thebe, Cindy Swazondi, and mentors, and they are from Student Support Services in the College of Health Sciences. Over to our session 2 presenters.
Thank you so much, Chair. Welcome, everybody. My name is Suzanne Stokes. I'm a student counsellor based at the College of Health Sciences, Student Support Services, and I'll be presenting the work on behalf of the team. So the College of Health Sciences offers first-year students a supportive, innovative, and holistic program via the Peer Wellness Mentoring Program. The Peer Wellness Mentoring Program is unique at UKZN and has over time become a critical program enhancing the first-year experience of students, contributing to the students' adjustment to higher education and prompting their overall success. Being mindful of the COVID-19 pandemic restrictions, the Peer Wellness Mentors moved from offering face-to-face interactions to supporting students online. This presentation aims to reflect the process of support the PWMs provided as a prompt first line of support to students of CHS. Yearly, 46 mentors in 2020 and 66 in 2021 were recruited from 3 schools, trained to offer support on a ratio of 1 mentor to 15 mentees. Mentors actively supported all students in their respective disciplines on a range of issues, from becoming acquainted with the university to social and academic aspects. So the PWMP is designed to equip senior students to support first entry-level students and was adopted and adapted from the NMMU models, and is a combination of the peer helping and peer wellness mentoring model. The training, supervision, and debriefing offered by Student Support Services shifted online and included aspects of how a mentor would assist a mentee. Skills are taught to assist the trained and supervised mentors to assist mentees by listening, providing support and alternatives to students in need, but not advice. The support is based on the well-documented fact that students often seek out other students to help them when they are experiencing problems. It is a design system where individuals who care about others listen and talk to them about their thoughts and feelings, yet do not give advice or solve their problems for them. The training program shifted to online and Moodle and Learn21 platforms, facilitating the development of our senior students into this role of a mentor. We included unique topics with a greater focus on mental health literacy, online mentoring, etiquette and ethics, and exploring healthier coping strategies. Training was not once-off. Additional topics and themes identified for training moved into the supervision sessions. Monthly supervision and debriefing sessions served as an important platform to maintain contact with mentors and to provide the ongoing and additional support needed. Conversations and training on the following was also included, and a special mention to bullying and cyberbullying, managing personal relationships, shifting and coping with the online learning demands, addressing substance use and risky behavior. So, hands up if you believe that there is a need for peer wellness mentors. If you're not convinced, that's okay. Let me explain why I believe it is important to include students, in particular trained mentors, into the support structures of the university. With today's rapidly changing world demands greater relationship skills, increased mobility, and the breakdown of traditional home, school, work, and community institutions have led to an increase in social isolation and stress. As a result, We need to be more effective in building caring relationships. Typical goals: young people need assistance within entering their higher education, includes physical fitness, safe sex, alcohol and drug use, managing stress, and the online learning spaces. Without peer support, about 80% of lifestyle enhancement efforts fail, according to Allen, 97. The Peer Wellness Mentors mentoring program thus aims at teaching trained peer helpers to achieve personal life change and to provide effective peer support. By increasing peer support, the program can help establish a wellness culture on campus. So developmentally, the young adult has a need to belong, to be included, to look for opportunities for intimacy. This need is reflected in Maslow's hierarchy as love and belonging, just above those basic needs of physiological and safety needs. So let's talk a little bit about these relationships and the importance of what relationships have to offer us. Relationships offer us a sense of understanding ourselves and others and the world around us. We get to understand ourselves through interaction with others, to fulfill our needs. Among our basic human needs are inclusion and affection. Inclusion, the need to want to be involved with others. Affection, need to be liked. To share the good times and both the difficult times. We often look to know that someone is there for us. It helps to alleviate loneliness. Contact and having an other makes us feel less lonely, less alienated and isolated. And secure interaction. We have our basic need as humans to interact on a physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual way. And we need to be able to talk to someone about ideas, feel loved, share our thoughts and emotions with someone. And a relationship ensures that we as a human being have secured a source for our basic need. So mentoring is a relationship and a set of processes where one person offers help, guidance, and advice. This is a relationship between equals. Is classified as a support, caring relationship. It's a formalized relationship focused on holistic development, fosters independent and personal growth. Research has shown that there is a need for mentoring programs in the life of a first-year student. We have seen through the many monthly reports submitted, conversations of students having to navigate a new environment, navigate a changed living and studying environment, many technical and social challenges, academic demands, familial challenges, and this list continues. The Peer Wellness Mentor is there, and this presentation will reflect on this impact that it has had on the lives of the mentees. So I'm going to refer just basically to the training program that we have offered, as well as the analysis thereof. And I think what is significant to reflect on the training program was the fact that mentors rated very highly the value, benefit, and appropriateness of the theoretical and practical components of the training. Just in purposes of time, I'm not going to go into too much detail around this, but essentially they reflected feeling equipped and ready. Was also established that one would need exposure to really ascertain whether they were equipped to fulfill this role. Other questions we reflected on was the effectiveness of the wellness model, issues regarding confidentiality, ethics, and referral skills, the basic counseling skills, looking at readiness to fulfill their administrative needs, the implementation of the program, and they definitely reflected quite significant suggestions for future programs. So over the course of 2020, we saw 5,157 consultations by our mentors with our first-year students. To date, for 2021, we have 5,245 contact sessions. Our group consults recorded 309 sessions, and to date, 539. All of these interactions were done online. In summary, I'm going to be highlighting some unique trends that we've picked up. Highlights have been reported on the training program, content, skills development, and impact the peer wellness mentors had on the holistic wellness and connectedness of their mentees, extending basic support to first-year students. We saw the involvement of our peer wellness mentors in our workshops, during orientation programs, first-year extended programs, and tailored interventions. The program evolved and shifted to the needs following continuous evaluation and assessment. Social health is important in maintaining positive well-being. A recent study found that the strength of a person's social circle was a better predictor of managing stresses, experiences of happiness, and maintaining positive well-being. The support provided was intentional, intensive, and meaningful. Our challenges included our mentees reflecting missed opportunities, that sense of FOMO, fear of missing out. There were limited or fewer events on campus to bring mentees together. And as a result, we had to be quite creative and innovative. And that was a bit of a challenge, knowing that we had to adhere to social distancing rules. Online platform has its limitations. It did not allow us to develop relationships with our mentors on the level we could if we were face-to-face. When we meet face-to-face, in training and supervision and debriefing, there was a level of personal contact which had carried so much weight. Negotiating time for training was a challenge. And in the past, we saw the benefit of working collaboratively as a college peer wellness mentoring team. Recommendations included for future programs to have smaller connect groups with more peer wellness mentors recruited, include collaboration with stakeholders, securing timetabled slots for engagement for this program, and within the first year extended program, shifting to a balanced approach in mentoring programs as there are benefits to both online and face-to-face. So very briefly, I'm just going to reflect on the mentor and mentee voices in the impact survey that we conducted last year. And we presented this across the College of Health Sciences in all the disciplines. And we reflected on unique things of what they experienced during the process. So it was referring to both the training and support they received, as well as the highlights within the program. And the mentors reflected on being able to assist the first years and provide them with support, helping them transition from high school into university was the major highlight. Moments where mentees showed their gratitude towards them, relationships they built, the teamwork, making friendships, overcoming hardships. They were constantly asking for new skills and training. Challenges, definitely the COVID situation came out strongly, transition to online mentoring, being able to reach out to all mentors, mentees. Some mentees showed no interest in working with the mentors, challenges with time management, constantly reaching out to unresponsive mentees, and the fact they could not have face-to-face sessions. There were things they did not enjoy about being a peer wellness mentor, but they also wholeheartedly recommended all students to consider being a peer wellness mentor. We also gave them an opportunity to reflect, shifting from face-to-face to online. And these responses definitely had a direct impact on the training for 2021, with more conversations on online readiness, online mentoring, online etiquette, ethics, consent, and confidentiality. So briefly, I'm going to share with you the mentee reflections in the Peer Wellness Mentoring Program, also across the College of Health Sciences in the disciplines within the college. And we asked very similar questions. And many of the mentees reflected it was an experience like a great experience, where they were experienced helpfulness, patience, and friendliness, a sense of welcoming. One mentee reflected, my mentor was cool, calm, and collected. He's someone you can really communicate with. These words were used to describe what they received from the peer wellness mentor. They too also experienced some difficulties and challenges, and reflected the limitations with online data, connectivities, and lack of communication. Would you consider being a peer wellness mentor? Many of the mentees said yes, if you have the skills, the heart, and the willingness to help others. What was your experience like from moving from that face-to-face mentee to online mentee? many reflected not significant changes, but they did prefer a face-to-face initially. I think with the training program, providing the mentors with sufficient skills to facilitate the program definitely helped. So in my conclusion, the role fills a vital gap in the support of first-year students. The role of the peer mentor is one of being proactive and supportive to the needs of students, their adjustment and skills needed to navigate the university. The first year sets the foundation for tertiary years, and the peer wellness mentor plays this big role of mentor. It's an extension of psychosocial support that student counselors can offer. Where a student counselor is needed, where we cannot reach, you will find the peer wellness mentor, an important link in developing a mentee's holistic well-being. So in conclusion, often it is non-academic challenges that prevent our first-year students from progressing in their studies, and the peer wellness and academic mentorship program is geared to target exactly that. In addition, we know that the academic environment is a very new experience, and before our first years succumb to the challenges, through student wellness and academic transformation program, we proactively support our students. I thank you for listening, and I hand over back to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. So I'm opening to delegates. I don't see any comments or questions in the chat. So we have 4 minutes before we move on to the next presentation. So please feel free to ask questions or points of clarity to Suzanne Stokes.
Thank you.
Kumna, do you see any comments in the chat?
No, there's no comments yet.
Okay.
And there's no hands up. No.
There's no hands raised as well.
No, yes.
Okay, thank you for that. So I take it there is no question or comment. So we are going, and thank you, Suzanne, again. We are going to move on to our next presentation, our third presentation for this afternoon, which is a structured online credit-bearing psychosocial and academic skills module for first-year students by Christy Greener, Suzanne Stokes, and Williginidi Theva, student counselors from the College of Health Sciences. Colleagues, you will be presenting now for 15 minutes and then 5 minutes for discussion, questions, and clarity. So I'm going to hand over to Christy and team for presentation 3.
Good afternoon, colleagues, Madam Chair. I am Christy Greener. I'm a student counsellor based in the College of Health Sciences, and I will be presenting this work on behalf of the team. Madam Chair, if I may make a request to the participants, please not to post any speaking.
Christy, you are breaking up, Christy. Yes, it may help if you turn off your video. Thank you. If I didn't hear you, but I'm understanding that you would rather that the question be raised with you as opposed to placing it in the chat.
Is that better? Okay. So, are you hearing me better?
I can, thank you.
Me better now, Madam Chair?
Yes, I can hear you, Christy. Go ahead.
Thank you. It's just a request not to post questions in the chat space until I've finished speaking. Otherwise, my screen reader will read them out loud and it will disrupt the flow of my presentation. So to give context, when we look at contextual realities, we're all familiar with studies on retention and throughput, factors which impact failure and dropout. The importance of life skills training and higher education as a means of enabling students and academic development, as well as increasing the chances of employability in the future, is well documented. So a brief background to the implementation of the module that we will be discussing. So the literature emphasizes responsibility of tertiary institutions to provide students with a broad-based education consisting of degree-specific knowledge, generalized situations, content. Since the early 90s, counseling services in 1995, the then Faculty of Science.
We're losing you, Christy.
Recognized the critical role of students in the, okay. Is this clearer?
It's better, thank you.
Okay. From 1997, life skills training was offered to students in the discipline of dental therapy. Academics in the school noted the benefits of such training, resulting in counseling services, developing lesson plans, which formed part of the community development credit-bearing module. The value of developing and enhancing graduate attributes to enhance development beyond technical expertise was noted. The module developed over time and was retained in the curriculum of the merged institution. So the pardon me. So to look at the module design and implementation, it is a 13-week program with an average class of 50. It is offered in semester 2. So if we look at the 2019 program, it was delivered via a traditional learning approach, face-to-face contact, critical skills that relate to areas of self-management, academic preparation, personal growth and development, and integrate the module. Many of these skills are recognized as critical cross-field outcomes. So in 2020, we conducted a meeting of dental. This was conducted by means of a Zoom poll and was also carried out in 2021. So the identified themes guided our topic coverage and were unique to the 2020 and 21 cohorts. Students reflected a need and assistance in the following themes: preparedness for academic and clinical work at 70% and 60% respectively, become more focused and concentrate better, 57%, learning to remain calm and developing healthier coping strategies, 43%. The question, have you attended any other online workshops with SSS? 64% of the students indicated no, and 28% reflected issues of connectivity, data and device, and could not connect in semester 1. In 2020 and 2021, in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, the mode of delivery changed. It switched to an online delivery. It was again a 13-week module offered in semester 2 and is credit bearing. The sessions, the module was divided into 2 components. It was both experiential and interactive. So there were online lectures and a Moodle and Learn 2021 component. Evaluation was written at the end of each session and was a flexible and evolving program. The expectations, compulsory attendance, and engagement with 100% of the activities uploaded onto Moodle and Learn 2021. Attendance is tracked via a Zoom register and all included student services such as the Disability Support Unit and the Campus Clinic, as well as other student counselors from other schools in the College of Health Sciences. The module required administrative assistance as it required full-time monitoring, attendance to online lectures, and evaluation and interpretation of each session, as well as managing the online Moodle module and its engagements. The module comprised of two components, academic self-care and personal wellness, focused on holistic well-being. The first session was devoted to rapport building, clarification of expectations, and relaying the foundations of self-care, which was expanded on throughout the module. The next few slides show screenshots of the Moodle and Learn 2021 pages. We then have two samples of learning outcomes. Study skills and critical thinking comprise specific techniques and strategies aimed at facilitating understanding and retention of information, as well as form aimed and a sort of mental health and wellness pandemic. Order
you are
and
breaking up.
Highlight strategy. My apologies, Madam Chair. Can you now hear me better?
Yes, that's lots better. Thank you, Christy.
My apologies, Madam Chair. So in order to aid students in dealing with such issues, session issues. So student support services collected students' accounts of the life skills modules, values, and impact through online. Most were associated with having to connect with SSS in an online activity dedicated to their development. So looking at the evaluation of 2020, in 2020, the findings revealed students experienced the module as highly impactful, 60% of students, and quite impactful, 38% of students in their journey as future healthcare practitioners. So a student attended 83.3% of the Zoom sessions, but only completed 9% of the Moodle content. The student seemed to prefer the Zoom live sessions and engagements as opposed to the online Moodle content. This student reflected the impact on their future development as a healthcare practitioner as highly impactful. One student, on the other hand, attended 54% of the Zoom sessions, but completed 100% of the Moodle module. This student preferred the online reading content and preferred to engage the module this way, as opposed to the active learning participation. This student reflected the program as a positive experience and rated the program's impact on their journey as a healthcare professional as highly impactful, which just goes to show that the module catered for two different learning styles. We now are looking at the 2021 analysis. This is provisional as the module has not yet concluded. The final session will be taught later this afternoon, and students are still completing the final evaluation. At present, 66% of the students reported highly impactful, with 29% in reflecting highly impactful and 3.7% some impact. Going back to the 2020 evaluation, rate your experience of the online curriculum program. The topic's relevance was rated at 89.7% as outstanding, whereas 27% truly above average. The sessions were received positively, reflecting a truly above average and outstanding experience. Similarly for value and benefit. Significantly, the relevance of topics had been rated highest by a majority of the students attending. So the voices of the students are important in designing the learning modules, seen here through offering relevant topics for the student by the student. Evaluation 2021. This displayed the provisional evaluations of the online evaluation survey for the current cohort. Again, relevance falls highest in the ratings, currently at outstanding 80.8% and 19.2% for truly above average. An outstanding overall experience at 71% was rated for the module by the students, followed by truly above average at 28.6%. Would you recommend this program to other students? 89% of the students recommended this module to their peers. 100% of students in 2021 say they would recommend this module to their peers. Now we look at the student voices. So central to the program is the experiences and voices of our students. I'm not going to go through everything on the slides in the interests of time, but you can see that even when a student has rated something as less impactful, they do have a positive comment as well. For example, someone had rated the session on reading techniques as less impactful because I already knew it, but I learned some new techniques as well. Other people rated the online Moodle module as challenging, but I managed to overcome my barriers. From 2020, what topics would they have suggested? Cyberbullying, diet and nutrition, healthy lifestyles, self-determination. Again, focusing on the student voices. Again, I'm not going to go through each. So why do we value this compulsory module in the College of Health Sciences? We, through a proactive, collaborative strategy, understand our strategies, understand our students and their needs, gaps and challenges. However, there are gaps in intervention. We know that students utilize the opportunity for self-development is voluntary, and presentation. Include components, include accelerate, because the life skills components is linked and meaningful. Such an approach is said to arouse student interest and motivation. The students see the connection between information and the skills they are developing. Enhancement of students' ability to self-reflect on skills acquisition and progress, and enhanced students' awareness of the learning progress, and translate verbal knowledge into different contexts. So implications for the integration of curriculum-based life skills. We know that discipline-specific knowledge alone is deemed insufficient to meet employer demands. For multi-skilled, socially competent graduates capable of making a meaningful contribution to the economy and society at large. The literature emphasizes the need for tertiary institutions to provide students with a broad-based education consisting of degree-specific knowledge as well as generic life skills. So, conclusion. Beyond study success to student success. We need to strive for beyond study success to student success, which is to whole student development. The discipline of dental therapy and oral hygiene must again be commended for including curriculum that only serves to support students and enhance their overall well-being. Importance, and again reflected in this report. Even though we have challenges associated with the online delivery, programs can still be impactful and meaningful by the students themselves. A program can still be successfully adapted and meet the needs of our students in a manner they experience as impactful. It allows for students to engage differently with content. Holistically developed skills in an online forum can positively impact the students' ability to transition into the higher education context and develop the professional capacity demanded as necessary part of their program. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Christy. we've reached actually the end of the time on that session, and I'm just going to check if there are any queries, comments, or questions of clarity from the delegates before we move on to the next session. Pumla, are there any comments in the chat or any hands raised?
There's no comments or hands raised.
Nothing. Okay, with that, I'm going to thank Christy, and we're going to move on to our next presentation, which is academic staff experiences during emergency remote online teaching and learning, presented by Ashwin Manival, Bobby Varghese, and Professor Naveen Chetty from the College of Agriculture, Engineering and Science. Colleagues, I'm going to hand over to you. You start at 13:30, and you've got 20 minutes, of which 15 minutes is for presentation, and the last 5 minutes for discussion and questions. Thank you.
Okay, good day. Can everybody hear me? Can I just confirm?
Hear you.
Okay, good day, colleagues. I hope you're all doing well. My name is Mr. Ashwin Manival, and I'm one of the Principal Academic Development Officers in the College of Agriculture, Engineering and Science. And today I'm going to present to you a topic on academic staff experiences during emergency remote online teaching and learning. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of a background. Back in 2019, that was pre-COVID, myself and Prof. Chetty, we presented a paper at the 7th Annual AMS Colloquium that had to do with student perceptions surrounding record keeping of notes and tutorials. And we came up with a few interesting conclusions from that study. One of the conclusions we came out with was that students in general preferred contact classes to online classes. And we also, there was also an indication that due to misuse of technology during lectures, there was evidence of information and cognitive overload with students, and also information anxiety. So the general sort of conclusion we came with out of the 2019 study was that staff at UKZN were not equipped in general to teach online from the student perspectives, of course. So I'm just going to put up a few results from that study, which happened, that was the preliminary study in 2019. You can see here that two groups of students were studied. One group was underperforming, the other was overachieving students, and the results or the perspectives between them was very consistent. You can see that students with the PowerPoint slides and the chalkboard was very popular with students, and you can see that online learning wasn't as popular. And so at the end of 2019, I personally came out with the mindset that technology had a light side and a dark side, so a good side and a bad side. So technology was meant to fix three key areas. One had to do with amount. So technology creates a potential for more work to be done. One has to do with location. Technology is able to fix the location problem. So for example, you can talk to who you want, whenever you want, irrespective of where you are. And technology also kind of introduces this new factor. Well, this is not actually a problem it's fixing, but this creates a problem when studying. We tend to do things faster. So there were these three sort of descriptions or areas that made technology what it was. It was the amount of work was greater. You could fix a location problem, and you could do things faster. Now, this kind of thinking behind technology in general is good. More, faster, and being able to do something anywhere is good. It works for industry. The only problem is that it does not work in the classroom. And the reason why it does not work in the classroom is because a teacher can only teach as fast as a student can learn. So if a teacher tries to use too much information through technology or through an online method, it's not going to work because it's too much for the student. The student goes through information and cognitive overload. If a teacher tries to take this information and teach it too fast, the same thing happens. And so when we went into 2020, with the study and with the results, COVID-19 happened early on in 2020. And so during the early parts of 2020, the entire university was forced to stop contact classes, and teaching and learning had to move online. we adapted to an emergency remote online teaching and learning strategy and plan. So this opened up an area for me because we were interested in online learning, we were interested in student perspectives, and we had come to the conclusion that academic staff were not equipped in general to teach online. So when this colloquium came up, the opportunity showed itself to go back and to ask academic staff questions about their experiences during the remote learning, and to get some perspective from them about the challenges they faced and about whether they were equipped or not. And so the aim of the study was to gain insights from academic staff perspectives concerning remote online teaching and learning. There were 4 research questions that we tried to address. The first one was, what was the major problem areas for academic staff? Were there any positive experiences that the staff had? What can be done to overcome the challenges? And what are staff opinions as to how we should move forward with teaching and learning in 2022? And so I carried out the study. The method I used was the online questionnaire, very, very simple questionnaire, 6 questions to the point, very open-ended questions, so I didn't influence the answers much. 19 academics in my college responded. And basically what I was trying to find out, question 1 is, have staff received adequate training? Question 2, do they have any challenges? Question 3, what were the positive experiences? Question 4, are those challenges relevant today in the semester 2, 2021? Question 5, what can be done to improve the areas of where these challenges lie? And question 6, do you prefer online teaching and learning, or do you prefer contact classes? Very, very simple and to the point. And so I'll try and go through each question with you if I have time. But question number 1, do you feel that you have received adequate training to perform your online teaching and learning activities? So this question was asked to academic staff members. 63% said yes, 21% said no, 16% says I'm not sure. So this means a total of 37% either said no or they weren't sure, which is a relatively large number for an institution. Okay, our sample size was small, but if it's any indicator of what's out there, it means that UKZN needs to facilitate more training about online teaching and learning. The second question we asked the academics was, please can you tell me about the challenges you faced for remote online teaching and learning? And so these were responses I have received. Now what I've done is I've taken the responses, I've put them into 2 slides, 2 charts, okay? This is the first chart that's showing you the major challenges. These challenges occurred more frequently in the answers. You can see N is equal to 105 challenges mentioned. These don't mean 105 people who are in the study. They mean that from those 19 people, there were 105 challenges that were mentioned. And some of the challenges were duplicated. For example, you had copying being mentioned multiple times, or time consuming being mentioned a couple times. But basically what I need for you to take away from the slide is that if a certain challenge has a higher bar, all it means is that it occurred more frequently in the comments of the academics. And so you can see that copying, student attendance, plagiarism, student connectivity, human connection is lost, students not engaging. These were kind of the major challenges. The challenges which are circled in red, these represent challenges which are the fault of the student. So for example, a student is copying, it's his fault. A student doesn't engage, it's his fault. The circles in green represent the human aspect. So these represent mental health issues, depression, anxiety, something that has to do with the mental health aspect. And the ones in blue represent a fault to the system. So it's not necessarily anybody's fault, it's the system, it is what it is within online teaching and learning. And you can see that most of the major challenges lie with the student in this slide. I can bring your attention to a few important ones. Email communications, assessment compromised, students not engaging. And so this slide here is representing the minor challenges which staff faced. Again, I think the one takeaway from this slide is you can see that very few student contributions or student fault in this slide. Students not completing tests, students don't complete tasks. Okay, kind of like the same thing, but one has to do with tasks, one has to do with assessments. But the important ones are no active learning. Now, this is extremely important. If you're anybody involved in education, you know how important active learning is. So some academics were really struggling to to get students to actively learn online. Unrealistic deadlines. So this has to do with the different job sets of the academics. They believe that some deadlines were unrealistic, contributing to their mental health. Some academics are wanting to leave work. They can't manage anymore. They say that there's no more joy from teaching, and they say that students are unable to adapt. And so I just want to read a few lines from academics. Quote, I am suffering from severe anxiety and depression. I was recently booked off by my doctor but could not take the sick leave. This job consumes my life, and I feel like that I am soon going to be forced with no other choice but to resign because my quality of life is so poor right now, unquote. This is a very, very, very concerning comment from academic. The next one, quote, students are not telling the truth about data access and working to timeframes. Very, very quick to see that students submit work for one discipline and then tell the other that they have no data. Not true. Level of copying is huge and really does preclude the ideal of continual assessment. What happens is you return feedback and then that is passed on to others, unquote. So students are essentially plagiarizing and cheating with feedback. The next slide that I'm going to show you has to do with the same question too. This is just classing the same data that you've seen into system, student, and mental health. And you can see that predominantly the challenges lie with the system. So this is an administrative thing that has to be fixed at the director level, managerial level, administrative level. And then we have a massive bar with student fall. So this is something we can do. We as ADOs, we as academic support can get in there and we can influence the student body. And then there's mental health where student support services can influence, but we'll talk about that later. Okay, so the next slide has to do with positive experience. We asked staff what positive experiences you had. And the majority of staff said that they've learned a lot of new things online, that it can be more creative, that online can give them the opportunity to be more creative, and that students would be better equipped for the fourth industrial revolution. One staff member went on to say there was absolutely nothing positive. I'm going to read a quote on his behalf. This is just a perspective. He says, quote, I see nothing positive or any place in future for online teaching and assessment at a contact university. It's a cop-out by lazy staff. Students from Quiltans we serve do not have the skills or the motivation to do it alone. They need face-to-face to get the nuances explained and the hands-on help required. Those who deem this to be positive have either not been engaging, they have too much time on their hands, or they don't actually understand the stress that this places on both staff and students, but mainly students, unquote. But another academic came forth and said, quote, online teaching caused me to be more creative in my approach to assessments, and it has been refreshing coming up with new tasks. I enjoy the fact that my lectures are available to access at any time, and they will not be disrupted by student protests, unquote. So two completely different views from academics. The next slide is showing you what challenges are still relevant today. So as you can see, connectivity is still an issue, copying plagiarism is still an issue, students' lack of engagement, students not attending, mental health is showing up again, which is a major issue. And when academics were asked what can they do, I've just highlighted a few key points that have to do with the major challenges that came previously. So academics are asking, they're saying us, we want more online training. They're telling us to make class attendance compulsory. They're telling us that they want students in the classrooms. They want them to have physical tests. They're telling us that they want more mental health workshops. They see this as a good thing, right? It is a good thing. They want lectures to resume on campus. One academic, point number 13, says, don't allow students with no integrity, but that's something very difficult to do. The next question was asked to them, what are the preferred mediums of teaching you prefer? And as you can see from this slide, they were given 5 options. One was online, 100% online, 100% contact, blended learning split down the middle, blended learning majority online, blended learning majority contact. And you can see that most academics want blended learning, but majority contact. And this is important because it tells us something. It tells us that academics want the human side, the human interaction with students, but they still want to maintain what they've learned with online learning during the remote teaching learning. And so I'm just going to go through a few conclusions with you very quickly. Here's evidence of information overload in lectures, where I had a comment, which I'll read to you. This is, quote, more material can be covered with proper preparation, unquote. This is an academic who believes that online learning allows him to teach more material. Of course, we know that this is just the system making it easier for an academic to share information. So clearly academics need training in this area. Number two, have we fallen into the technology trap? We have to ask ourselves this question. Too many emails are frustrating stuff. Have we fallen into the trap of technology that allows work to be done so efficiently that we're giving ourselves too much of work to do? Mental health remains a major concern, and we need student support services to help us with workshops. The majority of academics feel that students should return to some kind of face-to-face teaching, but some academics, to be honest, do prefer the online teaching. Many academics have learned the benefit of blended learning and want to incorporate them in this teaching. This is a very, very, very important and very good thing. Student attendance, plagiarism, cheating remain major problems. These things have to be looked into next year. Protocols need to be worked to improve the system administrative functions such as registration. And so I'm just going to give you a quick overview on future work. Support activities will need to be introduced through AMS projects to offer online training for staff and students. Mental health workshops. I can see that there are a lot of professional mental health workers here, socio-psychological support and so on. So mental health workshops can be introduced from that end. And student awareness workshops concerning plagiarism, cheating, lectures can be delivered through the ADO unit and academic development. So thank you for your time, colleagues. That's all I have to present you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashwin. Thank you for stopping on time. We have a few minutes just for questions and answers. So I'm going to ask Pumla to check if there's any queries in the chat, or if any hands are raised, or if anybody would like to unmute and ask a question. Okay, I don't see any hands, and I don't see any further comments in the chat. So I'm going to continue. I know that we were meant to move into the main venue at 2, but we've got added presentations in our slot. So we're going to continue until 2:30, and I'm going to move on to our next presentation, which is presentation 5, entitled Student Mental Health, Wellbeing and Care by Tandanani Ngidi and Team T Group. So it's over to you, to the Team T Group.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Pillay. I'm not sure if we had already shared our slide. I'm not sure who has it, or should we share it on our side?
Please do, because I have not received presentations, and I'm not aware if Pumla, have you received the presentations to share screen? Okay, so Pumla's not sure.
Yes, I'll
Sure. Thank you.
So Miss Pumla will share.
He will.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Do you have the presentation? There we go.
Okay. And Ms. Dlamini, I'm not sure, but on our presentations, we have recordings on each slide that guided the time. And then the last speaker will speak at the very last slide. I had just said that. I'm not sure if you're aware of it.
And one could say that it's very important to actually know that good mental health is...
Okay, Tandanani.
Yes.
Can you please share? Do you have a
Okay.
voiceover?
Yes.
Please share.
Okay.
Please.
Sorry, colleagues, just a moment. I'm not sure, colleagues, if you can hear anything.
Not as yet. You may want to go on to slideshow.
Okay. Can you hear anything?
Not as yet.
That's research that will
Okay.
be
Oops. Sorry.
Sandanani, we can't
Yes.
hear. There's some sound, but it's not really audible.
Really?
Unless it's just me, can I just see in the chat if everybody's having the same experience? Sandanani, one of the delegates says, click the share sound box on the bottom left when sharing.
Okay. He said it's at the bottom left.
Yes, at the bottom left.
Where's that? Okay.
Ashwin, do you want to unmute and guide the presenter?
Yes, I'm listening.
Okay, so when you click share screen, a box will pop up with all of your windows where you will pick the window you want. But at the bottom left, you'll see a checkbox called share sound. It will share the sound of that specific window.
Okay, I just clicked on more. I'm not sure if I'm correct. And then I did click on share sound. Now.
About 12 items in total that are very interesting, and we are
You can hear it now.
absorb
Okay,
the
thank you
shared
so much.
information and learn.
Oh.
So what we have here is basically an outline of the presentation that you'll be listening to today. And as you can see on screen, it is about 12 items in total that are very interesting. And we are hoping that you will absorb the shared information and learn a thing or two. There are various definitions of mental health. So today we will be looking at a definition by Adam, whereby Adam states that mental health is a positive concept, right? That is related to social and emotional well-being of an individual. And it is basically how people think and feel and also behave. And one could say that it's very important to actually note that good mental health is not the absence of negative thoughts. So here, this slide will basically look at the role of mentorship and student support services. And when you see a triple S,
Did something happen?
We've
Can you
lost
still
your
hear me?
sound.
Oh my goodness.
greetings everyone. So here, this slide will basically look at the role of mentorship and student support services. And when you see a triple S, it's basically an abbreviation for student support services. And basically these are key student support structures within the College of Humanities. And we will be looking at the role of student support services. And it's basically a foundation whereby the well-being and growth of a student is a core principle. And basically, they offer psychotherapy, personal counseling, career counseling, and academic counseling to students. And confidentiality is very important as individual sessions are also held or a group-based service, if required, is also at place. And then we're looking at the role of mentorship slash AMS. Basically, this program provides a scaffolding support for successful transitional experience. When we're defining a scaffolding, it's basically something that you're going to walk through to get to the other side. And mentors now assist students that are coming from high school into this new environment of the university, right? Within these group of students, you all
Sorry, I'm trying to stop my share. My other colleague will take over. I'm sorry, colleague.
Thank you. You have until 10 past 2
Understood.
with questions and answers, another session after you.
Okay,
Thank
understood.
you.
Can you still see my screen or?
We can see your screen, yes, but there isn't a slide on as yet.
Okay, we're going on it.
Colleagues, are you winning?
Honestly, there's a bit of a problem, and we'll just have to quickly rerun looking at the time since we've got 10 minutes with the questions. Hopefully we can share our PowerPoint since it has recordings on, and you will just get the gist of the whole research that we've conducted. It was quite interesting, but however, due to connection problems, because we honestly thought since we've sent it, we wouldn't experience such matters. But then if we could be given the opportunity to share with all the participants right now, as we cannot present through the whole thing as a full 20-minute presentation with different speakers on. Or we can get given another opportunity, I'm not sure.
Kandanani, I'm just going to see what's in the message here. Yeah, so you do have about 10 minutes. So maybe you can just verbally share with us what were the key findings of this research. You've just got about 10 minutes, and this link and session will close. We do have another paper after you. So maybe in a few minutes, just tell us what the key findings of this research was.
Okay, no problem. So basically, my colleague and I all of us did the research, and it was pretty interesting to find that through students, if I could just quickly share, and I think she'll also join in me. But basically what we saw with the correlation of students' well-being, healthcare, and the mental health is that the COVID-19 pandemic also had some sort of an effect within the emotional well-being, psychological well-being, and disorders, which also affected the academic support, since there was things like lockdown and you're at home, and people at home don't really understand the content of the different courses that you're studying at university, whereby if you are at the residence, you have peers and online learning. You can meet at the labs or computer rooms and also get to share different pointers towards your schoolwork. And there's also a lot of supportive structures like student support services, whereby if any troubles that arise like depression or anxiety among students, there are trained psychologists to help you out. And even during programs like the mentorship, there are mentors to help first-year students from the transition of high school into university and to hold them through that journey. So working hand in hand with these two stakeholders, we saw that it shouldn't only be part of the divisions of student support services and the mentorship program, but other departments or divisions within the university at large across campuses should have a certain personnel or division that takes care of such services, looking at the students' mental health, well-being, and care, because it's such an important issue. However, within the group, I'm not sure if Ms. Mkhize, she was going to share sentiments whereby she as a student has experienced some certain issues of mental health, and I'm not sure if Ms. Pro could be kind enough to share a few minutes in wrapping up the whole presentation.
Good afternoon to the chair. Good afternoon to all the relevant stakeholders. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm a victim of mental health. I like to put it as a victim because from as early as 5 years of age, I've gone through an experience of being molested, being raped at 16 by my brother, and not having a place where I can speak of my pain. My mother was a domestic helper and she was always busy. So I've never had a place where I can cough out and say where I've been suffering. I'd reach out to my mother, but because of the struggles of life, she would not even want to listen, and I'd get blamed for every single thing that is wrong in my life. To such an extent is that I went into university, I enrolled myself into university, no support from her emotionally. To date, she has never asked me, how's my master's going, how's life going, until I got to a point that I've been trying to get validation from her. I've been trying to show her how much I love her and how much I'm giving her. And it got me to such a nervous breakdown that I actually was admitted in hospital because I was just suicidal. I was just not enough for her, and I needed her validation, and I crunched completely. So I am a victim of mental health. I am suffering, and it's not something that will happen just like a night before, but it's something that's embedded. There are things that are deep within your heart that are killing you slowly to such an extent that you're totally broken down. So if someone can give a bit of love and give a bit of kindness and attentiveness to someone's pain or someone's suffering, perhaps maybe the world will be a better place. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Pearl, for sharing your sentiments. So basically, this whole presentation was just for us to raise awareness in terms of the importance of students' well-being and mental health and care. It's not something that you can see in the physical eye, but it's such a deep emotion that is felt. I'm sure as within this platform, we have gone under certain anxiety or mood swings or depression of some sort, you know, and it's very important to have some sort of supportive structure to be made available from you from the beginning stages of, especially within the university life or campus life, where there is no family, you are away from home, and sometimes, as Ms. Pearl had shared, there's no family structure supporting you even back home, and you sometimes don't even know what you'll eat. There are various challenges, whether you are coming from a well-off or poor background, but there's no bigger or smaller challenges. And we all go through some sort of mental health or well-being challenge, which is a thing that we cannot avoid, but to raise awareness and work through, especially in supporting our students within the university. And we'll definitely share our slides so you can engage more with factual facts, because we did conduct interviews from first-year students and returning students within the mentorship program. With that being said, I guess even now this was some sort of a challenge, but we rose above, and I'm giving ourselves a pat on our back, and I hope everybody understands. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kandanani. And I want to acknowledge that, yes, you've tried to get this, share this research with us, and we would appreciate receiving the slides with the voice recordings that you have. I also want to take this opportunity to acknowledge that Ms. Mkhize has shared in this breakaway room her private, confidential experiences. And just for the colleagues and delegates on this breakaway room, you know, I think we know that there are constructive ways of supporting our students experiencing mental health challenges. And we have the student support services where there are registered, qualified professionals who are available to support our students. Please, those services are available, and please access them for the necessary support required. So I want to acknowledge both of you for the work that you put together and for sharing with us. And we're going to then, we have a minute. So a minute before we start the next presentation. So I'm going to ask if there's anybody in the breakaway room that wants to raise a question or make a comment or any points of clarity. Pumla, are there any hands raised?
There's no hands raised, and yeah, there's no comments in the chat.
Sure. Thank you for that. Colleagues, with that, we're coming to the last presentation for this afternoon, and you will note that we move beyond the 2 o'clock closure for this link because there were 6 presentations that was scheduled in a time frame that was beyond the hour and a half. So we move on to the last presentation, entitled Insight and Accountability in Moving Beyond a Negative Term Decision, presented by Mrs. Williganidi Theva, Student Support Services from the College of Health Sciences. So over to you, Willie.
Thank you, Dr. Pillay, and greetings, colleagues. And thank you for staying on in the session, even though I do know that it had officially kind of ended around 2. So thank you so much. I will just switch my video off so long because I also know that some of our colleagues are on load shedding. So let's try and save that. So thank you for this opportunity to share with you the College of Health Science strategy of support to the at-risk cohort. The title being Insight and Accountability in Moving Beyond a Negative Term Decision. The Aiming for Success strategy has inspired this presentation, and it is a strategy that my colleagues and I as a team implement to all our students in the College of Health Science. So it is known that universities consider positive retention and throughput rates as an indicator of institutional success. Much emphasis is placed on enabling students' initial transition into university and enhancing the first-year experience, with limited focus on sustaining the structured support, strengthening resilience, and ensuring the appropriate skills to manage the demands of university beyond the first year. Students who fail meet progression requirements and fall into the at-risk category, according to the UKZN academic monitoring support policy. And they are under pressure to improve performance within prescribed timeframes. In addition, coping with underperformance and failure in the midst of a pandemic, with all its uncertainty, has intensified students' anxiety and worry. It is unlikely that a single intervention program would be adequate in supporting our underperforming students. So this presentation describes the implementation and outcome of the Aiming for Success intervention strategy, which is a response to the academic monitoring policy of the university to best support students with a negative term decision, where at-risk students in the College of Health Science complete a survey which allows them to recognize and explore factors that contributed to their poor performance. It identifies realistic solutions and compels their attendance at a structured program of intervention. The outcomes present opportunities to respond with targeted strategies to enable students to cope and to eventually excel and flourish. By that, we mean to live well, study well, and participate well. Ultimately, the aim is for our students to develop their full academic potential, return to good academic standing, and develop skills to flourish under challenging circumstances. Therefore, this brief presentation will focus on briefly the academic monitoring policy of the university, the Aiming for Success survey that we use in the College of Health Science. We will touch on the negative term decisions and student uptake of the AFS, our findings, our strategies, the progress our students have made and the impact, and hopefully get to be able to share with you voices of our students. We are all familiar with the academic monitoring support policy, which aims to support underperforming students by classifying their level of underperformance and referral for appropriate intervention to facilitate their academic progress, therefore improving throughput rates. Specifically, the rules and timeframes that are highlighted and the student is tasked to assume responsibility to prevent an exclusion. So the Aiming for Success survey is designed to elicit critical feedback on the student's circumstances that led to a negative term decision. It also looks at their commitment towards this improvement. And the questions that that form part of the survey focuses on how long has a student been at risk, what has resulted in them being at risk, and how did they attempt to resolve these challenges. What support services did they access? How was the support received? And if it was not accessed, why not? Did the support benefit them, and how? And just basically what other support strategies they thought was necessary in their plan to overcome this negative term decision. The slide that you see now shares a sample of a specific cohort of students that we've targeted. This negative term decision list was received as at December 2020 in semester 2, for which we have offered interventions throughout 2021. One can see to the left that there's 443 students that have received a negative term decision across the various classifications and risk codes in the College of Health Science. And on the right, the number of negative term decisions per discipline in the college for this current period. Once a negative term decision is highlighted, the student is invited to a structured intervention program, including an urgent individual check-in, often termed as a walk-in session and a briefing. There's feedback on a survey and a plan on a way forward. There's individual consultations built into the plan, psychotherapy, assessments, and referrals. Also, there's contracting via the academic monitoring and support rehabilitation and readmission strategy. And then that follows on with the referral to the academic monitoring and support group intervention, which is followed by ongoing tracking and monitoring of the student's progress. The slide that you see highlights the intervention followed by a negative term decision against critical timeframes. Importantly, the AFS was implemented as part of the 2021 online registration process during the unprecedented times we've navigated. In semester 2, the school exam boards have requested for student support services in the college to intervene with the at-risk and underperforming students. It was found that students who responded to the interventions were better able to adjust with online learning, able to create a learning space with a routine, fostering healthier study strategies and attitudes. This slide and the next that I share shares with you the online invitation that is widely advertised and personally emailed to students in this cohort, highlighting the details of the group intervention, dates, topics, and the link. Importantly is the fact that these workshops occurred outside of the normal academic day, that is from 4 p.m. onwards. And this was specifically to accommodate the students' clinical hours, therefore ensuring accessibility of these workshops to all our underperforming students. This slide is the interventions for semester 1 of 2021, followed by the invitation in semester 2 of 2021, where we introduced the 5th session. And after 5 sessions, we've also then referred our students to the Mental Health Reset Week, a week-long program that has just actually ended yesterday evening. Here we are able to see the dates, sessions, and the attendance in semester 1 and 2 for the Aiming for Success group intervention. In this slide, we just go one step beyond the previous one, sharing the content per session, as well as the column on the extreme left, sharing the program in semester 2 of 2020. So although we're not focusing on 2020, it is just to highlight that even though we've navigated a period of major uncertainty, we at Student Support Services in College of Health Science have extended support to ensure that no underperforming student was left behind during those trying times. I would like to share briefly the survey findings. In working with this cohort, we start the process by requesting completion of the Aiming for Success survey and highlighting that this is their first step in making the commitment to academic progress. And the survey is basically accessed via a link. This program has generated huge amounts of information and feedback, student voices, their experiences, their perceptions through the many engaging platforms and processes that we have introduced, such as what you could see up on the slide, through the polls and the quizzes and the evaluations, etc. I'm just going to take us through some of the findings of the survey. As you can see, we had 443 negative term decisions for this period, of which we had 285 completed who have completed the Aiming for Success survey. Our first question was on how long have you been academically at risk? Some have reflected only being at risk in the past year, whilst others reflected to being at risk for more than a year, and yet others for a longer period than that. Whilst most of our students reflected being afraid to share this risk status with their families, they were really afraid of the feedback that they would receive and the lack of understanding and support, and that they stated that they found it easier to share this initially with their friends. Our next question was, what has resulted in you being at risk? And there's a lot of feedback that came through, but we've split this into 4 themes that emerged, basically in terms of the psychosocial, emotional and personal, the academic aspect, familial responsibilities, and the learning environment and resources. Within each theme, students' feedback is extensive, it is clear, it is specific, and the details have allowed for us to create opportunities and interventions to address each of their concerns. When asked, how did you attempt to resolve your challenges? Here again, a few broad themes emerge with specific feedback, such as consulting with key role players, self-actualizing, taking more responsibility to fix things in terms of my status, academic skills development and strategies, wanting to incorporate more of these skills into their routine, also looking at their overall well-being and implementing healthier coping strategies. Students also realized that returning to residence was going to assist them finding a better space or environment in which to study was going to be to their benefit. Feedback on the actual survey and which services were accessed received the following feedback. Students indicated that personal counseling, 46% of them indicated accessing personal counseling, whilst 15% spoke about individualized academic programs. And as you can see in the graph, there was 20% that spoke about accessing group skills, and academic counseling was 64%, and this would be through the ADOs. Students also cited getting support from their peer mentors, 14%, followed by 11% through their academic mentors, and 5% with their teaching assistants. Further feedback in terms of how did you experience the support that you received? It seemed that there was overall positive responses in terms of the support that they received. Students that did not receive the support shared that they've missed out on the opportunities to access the support. And when asked why they did not have access to support, students cited aspects such as, lost laptops, internet access, or my free time was used to catching up on other outstanding tasks, etc. On the question on what other support do you think is necessary to assist you progress academically, students highlighted academic skills to cope, followed by personal counseling and academic support. A response where students indicated that they were willing to commit to a plan to help them to succeed. In summary, when we look at the aiming, the academic monitoring strategy, as well as our aiming for success for 2020-2021, we note that there were 443 flagged on a negative term decision, 285 that completed the aiming for success survey, and of which 245 students responded to the group interventions, where 147 responded to 1 session, 98 for 2 sessions, and this was seen as the largest uptake of an intervention by an at-risk group. On this slide, I aim to share the progress of students as per the student management system. I've selected the nursing cohort as there was a large enough number to see the shift and the impact that services had made on this group. The year started off with 17 students on negative term decision. And as of the 16th of November, it seemed that 13 of these 17 students have moved to green, good academic standing, whilst 2 are on orange and 2 are on red, underperforming. I've drilled further and I looked into the feedback that I received in terms of the MA for Success from these 17 students. And they've indicated that 6 of them indicated that they have been at risk since semester 2 of their first year, with 5 being at risk since semester 1 of their first year, which means having failed modules as early as semester 1. And there were 6 who indicated that they were at risk from semester 3 in their second year, which would be the first semester of their second year. And 16 of these students indicated, yes, they want to commit to a plan to help them succeed. And I drilled further into the questions that we've asked this particular cohort, and we got an idea of what has resulted in them being at risk. And as you can see, there were failed modules, anatomy, physiology being highlighted, not being able to cope with the online learning, technical issues, and ill health. In terms of how did you attempt to resolve it, students indicated attending counseling and accessing support of the peer mentors, the academic mentors, the ADO, attending the group strategies, etc. Which support services did you access? Similar to what I mentioned, and I've highlighted how many students have indicated accessing the various support strategies. If you have not accessed the support, please provide reasons. And students shared that failing had basically shocked them, and it was just hard for them to talk about this to someone, and they set themselves plans on how to tackle the problem on their own. And secondly, a student said, I never thought about it. I did not know how it would help me after the release of my final academic results. I therefore then, after the finals, I received support. So just to share with you what this particular cohort was saying. How did you experience the support you received? Students shared that the support was helpful in planning and organizing steps to take in order to reach their goals, which was passing of physiology. Another said it was very helpful and I believe has contributed to how I am trying to get back on track. I'm not able to go through all the responses, but I'm sure you can actually read what's on the slide. So I would love the opportunity to share with you some voices of students who are in this cohort. I've got 3 voices, but I think with time permitting, I might not be able to go through all. If I do have an opportunity, I just want to share that these are all the students who have had a negative term decision. They have sought support and they have shared their experiences. For the purpose of time, I've preceded their lengthy feedback, and I've also removed any identifying details such as names, modules, home details, etc. So I'm just gonna maybe talk this one quickly through, so I won't read it fully, but this was a student who went to being at risk in her very first year and was referred to student support and then engaged with therapy and with group sessions, etc. And basically she had committed to the plan of treatment, therapy, and a few years later, she is on the brink of actually graduating at the end of this month. Well, at the end of this month, she'll be completing her academic program. Another student who basically shared that she was excluded financially, and this was as a result of family challenges, parents divorcing. It was a bad divorce. Father stopped paying for her fees, and as a result, she was depressed. She did not attend classes, etc., and was eventually excluded. She had to leave university, worked part-time in many different jobs, saved some money, and then returned to study and repeat some of her first-year modules this year. She is currently, her status is on probation. She is on probation. However, she has worked very hard, committed to all the therapy and the plans that have been in place, and has currently passed first semester modules. Quite confident she's going to pass second semester modules. Hopefully we'll be able to move from the at-risk status. I would like to read one of the feedback verbatim, if that's possible. And this is a student who had joined us in 2020 in his first year. And he says, I had a lot of tough experiences. I arrived at UKZN. I didn't have any friends or someone to talk with about my challenges. I was alone. And I couldn't understand the lecture because I was never taught with English. So I found it difficult to ask where I didn't understand. Things got worse when we had to go back home due to the pandemic. to study online, the stress started. I asked myself, how am I going to survive this? Because I didn't even have a laptop. I didn't even know how to use one. And I didn't have friends from university to ask for help. The biggest problem that I encountered when I got home in semester 1 of 2020 was the network. I live in a remote village with poor connection. I was not able to understand how to study online. I went through stress and depression. My home situation was bad. Mommy's unemployed and I was the only hope. So I couldn't cope with actually not coping with online work and letting her down. And this led to me being depressed. And I didn't know who to share these problems with. That is why I failed all my modules in semester 1. Then my ADO got involved because she received a complaint that I had missed lots of tests. I was thereafter referred to student support services, and all of this seemed to have brought back hope to me. In semester 2, I did my best by passing 3 modules out of 4 because I was back at campus. I got advice from classmates online. Network was no longer an issue. I, however, failed one module. I got 47%, but I was not able to return to write my supplementary exam because I didn't have the money to travel back to campus. In the beginning of the first semester of 2021, my laptop broke, which caused me to end up not having any resources to do my schoolwork, no access to study material. I didn't receive funding in the beginning of the semester. I had to stay at home, and the situation was just not conducive to studying. So he goes on to say how he managed to get the municipality to help him get funding, and he returns to university. But he's found that he's now, because of studying from home, he's ended up getting 2 further modules, and being unfunded added to the stresses. So he might have even passed on the theory modules, but because he wasn't able to attend the clinical component, he is unable to actually pass that over a module. So he says in the beginning of first semester, I didn't have money to register, and I said he borrowed that money. Sorry, I'm just repeating that. Where we are now, he says, I am now doing a total of 5 modules. I got funded at the end of first semester. In this semester, I'm hoping that I'm going to pass all my modules, especially the ones that I have failed last year. Things have started to improve because I have 2 people who understand my story, and I want to just say thank you. So I thought I should share that story because the reality of a student being at risk within the COVID context and the non-academic factors impacting was really, really important to share. I'm almost to the end of my presentation, and I wanted to share how all of this services that I have shared with you, how did this actually translate? How did the voices of our students and their experiences translate into their success? So in semester 1 of 2020, exclusions were deferred due to the impact of the national shutdown. At the end of 2020, 57 students were at risk, and they had proceeded to CCOM. Of the 57 students, only 4 accessed the Aiming for Success intervention. 11 appealed and proceeded to ACOM, and of the 11 that appealed, only 8 completed SWOT and the Aiming for Success. And of this 11, 5 were academically excluded. So it might be a lot of numbers to take in, but basically I'm sharing with you what has happened in terms of the recent ACOM findings. In 2021 of June, 11 of our students were proceeded to CCOM, 7 appealed and proceeded to ACOM. 6 of these 7 were excluded. 4 of the 6 of these students only attended 1 workshop, and this too, whilst they were waiting for the ACOM decision to be made. They didn't attend any other sessions. So the purpose of the academic monitoring policy is to ensure that as many students as possible are successful in their studies. And this is seen as a responsibility of both staff and students. The student support staff have the responsibility of providing appropriate support for students to excel, thrive, and flourish academically and beyond. Students too have the responsibility of committing themselves fully to their studies, monitoring their progress, and utilizing all available resources to successfully complete their studies, preferably in the minimum time. This presentation shared evidence that students who access services and support succeed in working through challenges. As for the latest exclusion results, it is noted that those who experience challenges but fail to access support face the possibility of exclusion. Therefore, the Aiming for Success strategy is a critical strategy of support to students who are underperforming. And therefore, there is no doubt that insight and accountability is essential in moving beyond a negative term decision. And I thank you.
Thank you for that, Willie. So Pumla, I'm just checking, are there any questions or hands raised?
No questions, and there is no hands raised.
No hands raised.
Yes.
Okay. So we're 4 minutes over time. I just want to check if there's any comments or queries from anybody in the breakaway room. No. So with that, colleagues, it's left for me to thank you for joining the mental health stream. The stream has offered us some important and interesting and excellent insights, as well as evidence-based recommendations on the varied student support initiatives across UKZN, which are intended to positively impact the well-being, the mental health, and academic success of our students. So with that, I want to thank all the presenters and thank the delegates that joined the stream. And we will see you on the other side and tomorrow as well. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your advice.